Okay, welcome. Today I want to continue our conversation that we started on the nervous system. And so I did an anatomy video, basically on just the structure of where it is and defining some terms, gave you some visuals. So we'll do a brief kind of synopsis, but I would love for you to go back and look at it if that feels interesting to you. The visuals are really great. It just gives you an idea of the complexity of the nervous system and some aspects to it. So we can talk about the nerve cell, the axon, the dendrites. So we have the nerve, the cell, the body, a long kind of extension from the nerve, and the dendrites. And the communication between the nerve cells happens through the synapse, which is the space between the dendrites. It's an electrical communication that is extensive throughout our entire body, right? Within the brain, and then from the brain, spinal cord out to the rest of the body, skin, muscles, bones, organs, even the arteries and veins have nerves. And our nervous system is constantly assessing and responding to internal and external stimulus or factors. Thirsty, wanting a drink of water, to navigating difficult, complex, like work and family stress, relationship dynamics. And most of it is not cognitive, but responsive. Like I can breathe without thinking about breathing. It's automatic. If I want a drink of water, I can get up and get it. I don't need to break down the process of walking to the kitchen, getting a glass, filling it with water. My body understands what to do. Part of that is learned, and part of that is innate, right? Thirst, desire. With awareness, our nervous system becomes a communication system that we can follow, understand, and influence. So paying attention to our sensations helps us connect with this inner tracking system, right? Bringing awareness to what we notice or don't notice or ignore, right? Maybe we notice the temperature of the room or the pressure, right, of my hips, what I'm sitting against, right? Things that we don't notice when the leg falls asleep because our attention is somewhere else, or ignore when our leg falls asleep because our attention is somewhere else. Maybe there's a deadline, or that our shoulders are tight, jaws clenched during an uncomfortable conversation. Are we aware that we're holding our breath, or that our heart starts to race after chocolate or an exchange? We become more connected to the rhythms of our body when we pay attention, when we bring that awareness in. Like the maybe times of day we have more energy, or the moments when we need more rest. Maybe we need more food different times of the week or month or year, or less food. The need for connection or the need for quiet. We get to know ourselves and how we feel, right? That even just that kind of need to be quiet, right? Listening to that and understanding what, maybe not even understanding what that means, but just understanding that there's that desire. So when we start to feel connection between our emotions and our nervous system, we can gain more awareness by understanding the aspects. And this is where we bring in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, rest, and digest. These are all responses of the nervous system, of the autonomic nervous system. These are automatic responses. The fight and flight or sympathetic response stimulates our whole system with adrenaline and cortisol. So very activating. That's one word we can use for it. On the other hand, our rest and digest parasympathetic response supports kind of slowing down, getting ready for rest, but also supports social engagement, connection, and helps to balance our adrenaline response. Notice when we're responding, whether it's fighting, fleeing, shutting down, which is our freeze response, which is also a stress response, or fawning, people pleasing, again, which is also another stress response. Just gives us an insight into how safe or unsafe, how revved up we are in whether it's due to circumstances or just within ourselves. Maybe there's an adrenaline response that isn't quite balancing or regulating or downshifting. Again, very basic, but physical pain, when we bring in the aspect of physical pain, right, it's also a response of the nervous system. Nervous system is telling us that there is something, whether actual or perceived, that feels unsafe in the body or damaged in the body. And just like chronic stress, chronic pain can keep that sympathetic response elevated so that there are higher levels of adrenaline and cortisol, making it harder for the parasympathetic response to have influence. We can feel revved up and not know how to come down. We can manage, but still feel out of balance or unsafe. Okay, and I hope that makes sense, right? That the physical pain can elicit that overstimulated space, and vice versa, that when we're activated, when we're adrenalized by some circumstance, maybe not related to our body in our life, it can influence our pain levels. So the nervous system is influenced by our environment. As we become more aware of how our environment affects us, we can identify what arouses us and what soothes us. When we are feeling stimulated or overstimulated, what helps us to find balance? Is it spending time outside in nature or with a close friend, someone we feel safe with? Does listening to a favorite song help? Or can the simple focus on the breath allow you to become more present in a situation that may be a little uncomfortable? Or again, you might just have a residual adrenaline in the system. So what are the things that we notice can help us when our circumstances are challenging? But exploring different tools gives us more options when things become challenging for us. It's this play of external environment and internal environment, right? So our external environment can be a car zips in front of us and we get scared. And then maybe we get angry. So there's an outside influence, and then there's an internal response. And if the internal response is kind of heightened, it might just be that our system is already overstimulated. So our body's rhythms, cycles, sensations, and emotions, right? So if we're kind of overstimulated, it might be easier to kind of activate these emotions that are connected with, right? So our nervous system and our hormonal system and our emotional system, they're all interconnected, right? The nervous system may be fast and it may kind of steer the ship a little bit. But we also have, right, that they kind of weave together and influence each other. Okay. So again, learning about our rhythms, our cycles, our sensations, our emotions are ways we can follow what's happening in our body. When we pay attention to our patterns, we have more information for when the patterns get out of whack. And we can become advocates for our own health and healing, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's important to communicate with others when it comes to our body, when it comes to our thoughts, when it comes to our emotions, right? Being able to communicate what's happening with us in order to get support. And so I am an advocate of us knowing more about who we are so that we feel empowered not only to know ourselves more than anybody else, but to be stewards of our own healing. That doesn't mean we don't need support. We obviously need support. We are creatures that need others. But there is a kind of internal guidance system that is so highly refined that we have access to. We just need to build that pathway to it. So building intimacy with our body allows us to listen to that guidance. What do we need in this moment? Right? Sometimes our mind needs to slow down and listen to the body because the body has a different pacing than the mind. But when we can connect the mind and the body, we can tap into that deeper knowing, that intuition. The body knows quite a bit. My body can sometimes, as smart as I think I am, my body can know something before I do, whether it's an instinct about another person or a situation that I've said yes to, that my body then responds with a no to. So again, that listening, understanding, that the intimacy of continually checking, listening, tracking, and I guess, with kindness, right? Trusting that our body may know. Sometimes our mind gets in the way and doesn't want what our body wants. We may want to go out and play, and the body's saying, no, I need more rest. So I hope that helps, just to give you an idea of the relationship between the physical and tuition. It's not a big leap. It's actually a very kind of clear path. All right. Until we meet again,